Good morning. So today we're gonna do a little something a little different. Man, you'd think I could talk by now. Been doing these videos like 900 videos. You'd think I could get it right. Anyway, we have had this tractor here, this 8RX, for a full growing season now. We got it in February, I think, last year. And so I wanted to take the time while we had it in the shop here to do a 1-year review of the 8RX, whether or not I think it's worth it, what I like about it, what I dislike about it, and just kind of go through that kind of stuff with you. So let's go ahead and get started here. So to get started, this is an 8RX 370. It is a 2021 model year tractor. And like I said, we got it in February last year. It was brand new, had just a couple of hours on it when it showed up here. We put almost 400 on it. We're sitting at 394 for the year. I used this to plant corn. We used it for side dressing corn on our anhydrous applicator. And we put it on the grain cart for wheat harvest, soybean harvest, corn harvest, most of corn harvest. And I did do a little bit of tillage with it when we were running our Landall disc over some wheat stubble this summer. So those are the main jobs. I put vast majority of the hours on it. Phil ran it a little bit on the grain cart, and Brock ran it on the grain cart quite a few days this fall here, but I planted all of the corn, did all the side dressing, that stuff with it. So first of all, it is, in my opinion, a sweet looking tractor. I think it looks really cool. I really like the styling of it. I like the big, bold John Deere, on the side there, and the yellow sticker and how all of it looks. I'm a fan. The mirrors, I know Phil's not a fan of the mirrors, but I think that it looks good. I think the headlights are awesome. I'm a fan of the styling on this tractor. The lights, speaking of the lights, are very, very bright, especially the headlights, the lights on the corners of the cab here, the lights up on the top, the ones on the back, they're all very bright. There's lights that point directly out to the side, so you have 360-degree lighting. Every time John Deere releases a new series of tractors, they brag about how great the lights are. Like, I remember when the 8030 series came out, and it was one of the first ones that had the HID lights, like on the back of our 8430, and they were so much better than the lights on our 8300 were, and just tremendously better. And then the 8R came out, and they were a tremendous improvement over that. Well, this is a whole nother step up, and you kind of like, how can they get any better? And I don't know, but I'm sure they will, kind of thing. So really like that. And everything is very integrated into the styling and stuff. The lights are molded into the top of the cab up there. They're not quite as just an afterthought like on some of the older tractors, I guess. I feel like they've taken the time to really make sure everything fits really well. These are molded into the plastic fenders and stuff. It does have this button here to turn the lights on up there underneath the cab for entering and exiting and stuff. I don't use that button very often, but those lights come on when you open the door, when you get out at night, and they stay on for a little while. Pretty nice feature there for climbing in and out of the cab. Now let's talk about the tracks for a little bit, because obviously that's the big difference between the wheel, all of our other tractors, and this one is the tracks. We have 18-inch tracks on this tractor all the way around all four corners, and for what we're doing, that's what we had to have. Side dressing corn is the big one, where we couldn't get down the rows with any wider tracks comfortably. So you could put 24s on the front and rear, and up to 30s on the back, and I think they have a 16.5 wide option, a little bit narrower, but wider tracks would be better for everything except side dressing corn. Everything except that. So that's what we had to go with. If somehow in the future we ended up with another one of these, I would try and get it with wider tracks for other stuff, 24s all the way around or something like that. 30s is too wide to plant with, but 24s you'd be just fine to pull a planter. So anyway, from a operational standpoint in the field, compaction, all that stuff, the tracks were a tremendous benefit to us this year. If you'll go back a few weeks into videos towards the tail end of harvest, I did one titled "Were the Tracks Worth It?" where we talked about it a little bit more. I think I did in my year in review or whatever one that I made a while ago too. I talked about it. But I had done a compaction study, and I had done it last year with the 8R, with the tires, the duals, and the compaction and the pinch row. Did it again this year where we kind of harvested every row of the planter by itself. And the tracks essentially eliminate the pinch row, right? So with a tired wheeled dual tractor, you have a tire here, you also have a tire here, and there is a corn plant or row that goes right between those duals. Well, with the tracks, everything is in one line, and so you eliminate that pinch row by not having a tire in here. And essentially we took that one row, or two rows, because one on each side, and we increased our yield by, I'm just going to call it 50 bushel an acre on those 2 rows, 2 out of 16 rows. That's a tremendous increase. And I think that paid off big time this year. I really believe that we had better yields because of running these tracks. Now, that said, we did have some issues with the tracks, more so just break-in, getting them adjusted correctly kind of things. You will remember this front left track here got replaced this summer before fall harvest because it had gotten a chunk taken out of it at the dealership before we ever got it, so they replaced it under warranty or whatever it was. But then we had a little trouble getting it aligned properly. It wanted to track inside, and we couldn't quite get it centered so that everything was run cool, and these guide lugs and the tracks were getting a little bit warm. Notice how the paint is really wore off of the inside of this idler, but it wasn't on the inside of this one. After they replaced that track, we took a little more time to get it adjusted right. They ended up putting a shim kit in somewhere in the back on this idler wheel frame that helped give us a little bit better adjustment, and we got it. And this track, I think, is actually better adjusted than the rest of them. Everything else was within spec, and I'm pretty happy with it. I might tweak them a little bit more in the future. Problem is, you can't really do it in the shop because you need to be able to move the tractor back and forth and drive it and make sure everything is centered well. So they're not bad, but I think we could tweak them a little bit. And I mean, like I said, well, they're within spec. So now, tracks are awesome for in the field. They were great in the field. However, roading them is not fun. And under most circumstances for us, it's not a huge issue because most of our fields are pretty close. You just drive slow, and I really limited my speed trying to keep that temperature down, especially when I was using the anhydrous bar that's a lot of 3-point weight on the back axle and the rear tracks, or the planter that has a lot of weight, putting it on them rear tracks going down the road. And so when we make our trip to our Berkey farm, which is 35 miles straight east of here, that's a long trip, and keeping your speed down makes it take a lot longer. I was getting out and lubricating the tracks, throwing some talc or dirt or whatever into them, and so that it would help lubricate them. That was a little bit frustrating. I think the benefits outweigh the frustrations of the tracks on the road, but yeah, that's the biggest downfall to the tracks, is roading them. Something that I had considered and still kind of am is putting a front tank on here, or side front tanks over the out on the front of this tractor here for starter, so that I could maybe get away from pulling the tank behind the planter in the spring. When we first bought the tractor last year, I'm like, that's a great idea, we'll just do that. After running it for a year, knowing how I operate and how it's efficient for me to get to the field and stuff, like I load right out here at our fertilizer tanks on 90% of what we do, right? And so I'm loading up the planter, seed, fertilizer, we're going to the field, we're planting it. Pulling that tank behind me allows me to carry enough fertilizer and seed to plant almost all of our fields in one shot without having to fill at the field. If I had those tanks on the front of the tractor, the weight, the added weight going down the road would be a huge negative, and I don't know that it would be something I could do. And then I have to look at getting a tender truck, which we have a tender truck, but getting it to the field, and the manpower and logistics of doing that is a huge challenge. And so I don't know that the front tanks or tanks on the tractor would be worth it. And I know they make what they call exact rate tanks that kind of fill in this giant void here, and you can get 1,000-gallon saddle tanks that are built right into the tractor. We could add them to this. They're expensive, but it could be done. I don't even know if those they allow you to take down the road though. right? Loaded. And if I can't go down the road loaded, or it severely impacts my ability to do so, that creates logistics problems for me. So I'm kind of shying away from that for now. Now, moving on back to our likes and dislikes. A lot of it, obviously the interface for me is all done in the cab here, right? See their fancy lights come on there? Super nice. This cab is very, very nice. We do have the John Deere Signature Edition, which means it has the ultimate comfort and ultimate visibility packages to it. And it is as nice as tractors get as far as I am concerned. So starting off with, this cab is very roomy, spacious. The seat swivels a long ways, and nice when you swivel, you can get a little extra because the armrest kind of separates from the seat here. So get you to turn a little bit more to the left, which is nice. The controls, we'll get to the controls. Let's just go through the cab features. Foot pegs, awesome. I use those all the time. Really missed them when we put the 8R on the grain cart, and I did not have those foot pegs. Yep, those are pretty awesome. Radio leaves a little bit to be desired. The touchscreen is kind of a novelty thing, but it does work. It syncs with my phone. It's great. That's super helpful. We do have our two-way radios in here, and yeah, cab is fairly comfortable. It's very comfortable. We do have the heated and cooled massaging seat in here. Gimmicky on the massage. The heat is nice, and it's got a fridge built in here, which is a very, very nice feature, just to be able to have a cold bottle of water, can of pop, whatever, when you're in the tractor for long days. So there is a power inverter with a power plug. I used that for charging my phone more so than anything else because, well, it was faster. Now I could get a 12-volt plug there that would be just as fast, but compared to the little power USB ports that they give you here and up here, just plugging it into that inverter with a super fast charger was way, way faster for me. So there is a nice mounting rail up here along the top that I can mount a lot of my monitors to. We do have the pegs on the corner post that we can also mount stuff, so those are nice. One of my big complaints with this tractor, they changed the power strip, so it's got these round 3-pin power ports. Great, that's fine, except for the last 20 years, 25 years, all of the tractors came with a power strip with this style of connector, and that's what all of my monitors and everything is set up for, because there's normally a power strip right there in all of the other tractors with that style. This one did not come with one, so I had to buy this. There's not a great spot to mount it. It's one of my projects I am currently working on. Minor complaint, but a complaint, right? Another thing that is not as nice, I shouldn't say that, it's just different and a little frustrating, is there really is a lack of storage on this tractor compared to the 8R. And a big portion of that is the fact that they put a refrigerator here instead of a little door that I can put papers and stuff. Now, they did give me this one in the ceiling, and we do keep papers and stuff up there. But it's not as convenient as having them right here. This seat does fold down. You can use this as a desk here. We're gonna take the plastic off this winter. I left it on there for the first year, but we are gonna take that off. There is some room down along the side of the seat here, and this is where the manuals go and stuff. But there's just not as much ability to store things. There's not as much here as it is in the 8R. The 8R has more room behind the seat, and so I noticed it a couple of times, like, man, I don't have anywhere to put this stuff, but it is what it is. It's okay. All right, let's talk about the controls, right? So this whole setup here is very different than any of the other tractors. The 8R included, which is the one that I had driven the most before this. So that's what I compare it to the 8R, the 8335R. It's a 2013 model. I get this is a lot newer tractor, but stuff has changed a lot. Most notably, the Command Pro joystick controls here. So So this Command Pro has a ton of programmable features and ability to do stuff. It also has a huge learning curve. So I came from the 8R it's got an IVT, which is the same transmission as this tractor, but it had a right-hand reverser where all I had to do was move it out of park, push it forward to go forward, pull it back to go back. I could change direction easily. Like I had that pattern memorized. I can do it without looking, very, very quickly and efficiently. For planting season, my biggest frustration with this tractor was there's a trigger back here that you have to pull in order to command it to go forward or backwards and stay in gear. Like I can move it over and push it forward and it'll creep forward, but as soon as I let go, the tractor stops. Same thing with reverse. But as soon as I let go, it stops. If you want it to stay, you have to pull this trigger and then just push it forward or even click it forward to go to your set speed, okay? Problem is, once you're moving forward and you wanted to go to reverse, you have to pull this back and click it, let go, come to a complete stop, pull that trigger and go back. I couldn't just grab the trigger and pull it back and have it reverse and change directions for me. That was a huge frustration because it took me forever and it was not intuitive. It was hard for me to learn. I have since learned that if I hit this trigger when I'm moving forward and I do this, it'll change the directions in reverse for me. Now there is a forward reverser up here on the steering column. I was getting better at remembering to hit that, but sometimes my hand wasn't in the right spot and it was so much easier here. Now that I know this trick of pull the trigger and do that and it'll go backwards, oh, that's gonna save me a ton of frustration next year on the corn planter. So other than that, the rest of this wasn't too bad to learn. I really don't use these 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons at all. Those are programmable to make them do kind of whatever you want. I didn't really need them to do anything. This is your throttle. You don't use the throttle much because it's auto transmission, or the IVT transmission has an automatic mode. You just kind of let it do its thing. And I honestly, I don't use any of these controls that much because it is all right here. Like right here's your auto steer resume button, right? Well, I have number 12 programmed to be my auto track resume. So I just push the button here. Awesome. Loved that feature. Your hydraulics, 1, 2, 3, 3-point, right? Well, I had hydraulic 1 programmed to be this button right here, hydraulic 2 right here, and then there's more up here that I could program in if I wanted to. So that was super nice. There was some features that the Combine Command Pro joystick has that this one doesn't, or things that you can make it do that you can't do on this one. The one that I'm thinking of specifically is to shift my guidance line. So on the Combine, I have this button here programmed to shift my guidance line, left, right, center. I can't do that on this tractor. I wish I could. I could just nudge it over a little bit. You got to go through the display to do that on here. So the Gen 4 monitor, a little bit of a learning curve with that. I had started using it with the Combine last fall, so I was a little bit familiar with it. For me, that wasn't too big of a deal. I think the Gen 4 is more user-friendly and intuitive than the 2630 displays are, the GS3 displays. But it is different. The worst part for me is the layout manager, kind of setting up the run screens and everything and getting the information that you want there. This cab is super comfortable, super quiet. There is cab suspension on this, and the tracks. Everybody's always told me the tracks ride super smooth in the road, in the field. They're rough on the road. You can feel the bumps in this one a little bit more. It does not have a suspended front axle like the 8R does. But they put the suspension in the cab, and that helps out tremendously. So I'm pretty happy with that. There's no fan above my head like the 8R, so it's quieter from the AC, heaters running, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it is very comfortable to run. You don't get fatigued from being, just uncomfortable and stuff like some of the older tractors. And I would pick this cab of any of the tractors we have every time. Like it is super, super nice. So I don't know what else. What else do we need to talk about? One of the really nice things about this tractor is that it sets very high, and that's partially the tracks, partially the cab suspension. But from running a grain cart perspective, you could see over the sides of the trailers much, much better than the 8R. Made loading the trucks much easier. It did add another step to getting in and out of the cab, and the door's up high. That door can be a little, you don't think that it's closed. Some people, when they get in or out, they really slam it trying to get it to shut tight, and you don't have to. It is shut tight, just close it. But
it's different because the handle's at the bottom instead of up where the latch is, like the other tractors.
I am sure somebody will ask about fuel efficiency, and honestly, I don't have a good answer for you. Fuel efficiency is such an overblown concern for most farms, in my opinion, because you're gonna burn fuel to do work, whether that's tillage, planter, sprayer, combine, anything that you're driving a piece of equipment, it's gonna burn fuel, right? How much fuel may vary some, but the difference between this tractor and the 8R or a Fendt or whatever else is gotta be minimal, right? I mean, like when I'm planting, I think we figured 0.2 of a gallon per acre, maybe. You're gonna burn half as much fuel and burn 1/10 of a gallon per acre? Big deal. You're talking about 30 cents an acre. Like it's not significant. So I don't worry too much about fuel efficiency. I don't think this tractor is bad. I'm not trying to imply that it's terrible on fuel. I'm implying that I don't track it and I don't care that much because it's a cost of doing business. You're gonna burn fuel. Anyway, that's what I know. I am considering taking some of these front weights off because we don't need them. This tractor does not need any added weight. It is plenty heavy on its own, and we don't really need them for counterbalance. I sort of left them on because on the 8R, I needed all the weight I could get for stability pulling that anhydrous applicator. I thought I might on this as well. The tracks add so much stability to it and such a wide, long footprint that it really handled it much better than the 8R did, and it's not a concern. So I probably don't need those front weights on there, and anytime you can reduce your weight and compaction, that is a good thing. So we will probably do that, or at least some of them. Like I had said, I had thought about a front weight bracket or tanks on there, but getting that weight off of there, especially for road travel, would be a good thing. Anyway, other than that, I mean, we've got a little shine in to do on here, but we've been doing the service work and everything has been really no surprises. There's nothing been bad. I haven't had any major issues with it, but we've only put 400 hours, so you don't expect to have any major issues in 400 hours, right? So was it worth it? I believe it was. I know that there is a huge premium to the RX versus the R series and even the RTs, but the compaction that we have reduced and that pinch row compaction and the yield increases that we are seeing from that, I think will pay for the difference in price rather quickly, within a year or two even. So I am very happy with the purchase. This tractor is going to be here for a very long time. We are not the type of people that buy a tractor and trade it every 2 years or 3 years or even 5 years. The tractor that left when we bought this one was our 8300 that we bought in 1998. So we had it for almost 25 years before we got rid of that one. And I would expect this one to be around for, you know, at least 10, if not 20 years too. So anyway, that's my review of the 8RX 370 that we have. It is a very sweet tractor. I am extremely fortunate to be able to own and drive and operate it, and it's not lost on me. So they're expensive, very, very expensive. But if you're in a position with the acres and the uses that you can justify one, I think they are a very good option. So anyway, if you have any more questions, I'll try and answer them. Hit that like and subscribe button for me on this video. We'll see you again next week. Happy New Year, everybody. Today, which for you guys today would be New Year's Eve, right? December 31st when this video is coming out. It's my wife and I's anniversary, so we're going out to eat and doing all of that good stuff. But yeah, Happy New Year. Have a great weekend. And oh yeah, go Bucks. We got our big football game tonight, Saturday night. And we'll go from there. So thanks for watching this one. See you on Monday.